All right, episode 1 of the Knowledge Bomb. I'm here with Mary Beth. You want to introduce yourself, Mary Beth?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mary Beth Prodromitis, and I am a CrossFitter.
Yeah. She's humble, right? What is it, a 4-time games competitor, 2-time games champion, right? 55 years old, and just a badass. It's cool. Grandmother, mother, awesome. So you have a full life.
Yes,
right?
and I'm a middle school PE teacher.
There you go. Fantastic. And this is great because Mary Beth is out, really visiting, and the focus is prepping for the games. So she's about, 11 days out right now, and so we've been spending a couple days fine-tuning skills, working on pacing, strategies. Just this is really the peak of her training right now. And so, with that being said, we've been talking a lot about recovery, and it's really one of the biggest things I believe that's overlooked in terms of masters.
Right. I know that if I recover enough, then I'm ready to go hard the next day. So, but recovery is mostly up to the athlete more so than the coach. The coach has to worry about all that other stuff, but my job is to recover.
Yes, and that's really my attitude, right? I should be taking care of everything else, and Mary Beth's sole job is to recover. She puts in the work, and then right after she goes to work. And really, I think that when we talk about masters athletes, I think it's one of the most overlooked focuses in someone's training, right? Everyone's so focused about the hour in the gym, about the, their technique in the clean and jerk, about breathing, improving their engine, the latest, greatest, whatever that's come out. And don't get me wrong, those are important, right? But I really believe as a masters athlete, if you want to take your game to the next level, put your time and effort into the recovery. And really, I think that in my mind, there's 5 ways that masters should approach their training that is very, very different than maybe the younger athlete, right? And all these, the threads that link all these are definitely applied to younger athletes, but there's some big differences, right? Just in terms of an older athlete, joints, right? Joint structures just can't take the same amount of contractions, the same volume as someone who's young. We had a big day yesterday, right? 3 training sessions. And one thing I noticed from you is that after every training session, you're rolling out, mobilizing, cooling down. And I know that's a big part of just your day in, day out structure, right?
Yeah, every day before I go to school or to go to work or work out, I roll out. I have an 8-minute thing I do when I roll out, and then I do crossover symmetry, and I warm up however I need to warm up cardiovascularly and practice all the movements that are in the workouts. But after my workouts, then I definitely roll out again. And then if I have 2 or 3 sessions, I'm doing that before and after each session. But also practicing recovering is something I do a lot. I mean, it's not just something you do. It takes conscious effort. This is what I'm going to eat. This is what protein drink I'm going to do, or whatever. It's definitely not something that's haphazard. I definitely have a routine I am going to do, and I practice now that I will do at the games, about how to rest, how to meditate, how to make sure that my head's in the right space and my body is ready to go.
Yeah, and I love what you said, practicing recovery, right? It's not something that just like you go out on the floor and you work on your snatch and skill work on your snatch, and it's hard, it's a complex movement. I think the second thing is really the hormonal systems of an older athlete is very, very different. I mean, you just look at a 20-year-old male versus a 65-year-old male, and just testosterone levels are drastically different. And that kind of goes in line with, it takes less of a dose, right, to elicit a training response. So what might be effective for a younger athlete might end up stressing you too much, right? And so it takes a little less to get what we want out of a training session than someone else. So generally, masters athletes, lower volume, higher intensity, and really paying attention to the central nervous system, right? Because, and this goes along with just training history, right? The more training history an athlete has specific to what you're doing, the more sensitive you are to a dose response. And so it's just a general thing, right? Yeah. So this idea of looking at, as a master's athlete, looking at young folks and saying, oh, they're getting 18 sessions in a week and they're running, you know, X amount of miles. Unfortunately, we're just not built like that, right? And so I'm always a big fan of saying, okay, what's the least amount of work that needs to be done for the most amount of adaptation? And we're always trying to find that line, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, and I'm always telling, you know, you're always asking for more, and I'm like, nope, I want you fresh for tomorrow, because tomorrow's where the magic is happening.
Right, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And the other thing is life considerations. You know, typically, as we get older, I have 2 daughters, right? Our life fills up, and I think that we get busy, we become parents, grandparents, right? And I think priorities start to shift a little bit, right? And we can't, you know, we can't dedicate 10 hours a day just to training. You know? Right. And honestly, a lot of us are just choosing not to. But for you, you love to compete, right?
Oh, I love to compete, but I love to exercise. You know, I love CrossFit. The thing is, when you don't prioritize, the first thing that goes is your recovery, and you don't sleep enough, you don't eat enough, and then you still expect yourself to be keeping up kind of with the young people. But yeah, no, it's so important when life is bigger than your training schedule, that you know where you're going to have give and take. But if you're trying to be a competitive athlete as a master, you can't shortchange the recovery.
Yeah, and then knowing your why. I think the last thing, and this is a big term that's been thrown out in the past year, right? Like, what's your why? Know your why. But I think as a master's athlete, it kind of helps keep things in perspective. And really, as an older athlete, right? You know, 55 years of life behind you, it affords you a huge perspective that others don't. And so I think really understanding, okay, well, why are you competing? Why are you going to Carson? What if you win? What if you lose? You know, if you come out of a training session, you know, having not hit the numbers you want, like, what does that mean? And you know, essentially like defining, okay, why am I doing this? And not just like, I want to win, because that's what you, that's the plan.
That's the plan.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens, right? I mean, there's a lot of great competitors out there.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And so I think digging deeper and peeling off the layers as a master's athlete can present huge gains in athlete development, you know, performance, mindset, just. Right.
My why is, okay, bottom line is I want to make a difference in people's lives, but how does that apply? Well, I gotta want to make a difference in my own life first. Then I can make a difference in other people's lives more effectively. But that is my one thing of where my life purpose is. As far as it's really cool to be inspirational to other people, and that as a 55-year-old woman, I don't have to give in to aches and pains, but more so I can be in charge of my own aches and pains. And I know if I'm sore because I did that, and I'm proud of it, and not just be because I'm getting chronologically mature. So that's kind of, it's, so there's kind of where my why is.
Great points. So if you're a master's athlete, this is what I would suggest. Pay attention to your joints. Pay attention to how your program is written, and just realize that you need and you would probably benefit from a little bigger separation than your younger counterparts. It'll pay dividends, right? Take a look at the training protocols that you're using, and are they built for you, meaning your age group, you know, obviously your sport, things like that. Hormonal system, if you haven't been tested, if you don't know what your testosterone, estrogen, DHEA to cortisol ratios are, I would recommend doing that. This will give you some good insight into maybe how aggressive and what type of volume you could actually, you know, take, for lack of a better term. Realize that doing more is not always better. As long as you can recover, that's going to be the key. Pay attention to your CNS. Realize that it takes a lot less of a stressor, right, to create the same results. And look at that as a good thing, in a way. And then life considerations, right? What are your priorities? Do you prioritize recovery? And we're going to talk about in depth a little bit more about that. We're going to go over Mary Beth's warm-up, cool-down protocols, and then take time to explore your why as an athlete. You know, maybe you've been an athlete your whole life. Maybe it's just in the past 5 years that you've you know, found your athlete self. Take time to really look into that and start asking yourself some tough questions. It'll pay off in the long run. It's easy to say, but sleep, nutrition, mobility, you know, definitely, I think guided breathing, guided meditation, ROMWAD, all great tools that we should be using. And I think as a masters athlete, if you prioritize recovery, your performance will go through the roof.